satisfied. All right? So you got to write it down. So if you don't write it down, then you can't expect to be satisfied. Now, I'm going to tell you, they did a research, and they said that 3% of the people that graduated in 1953 from Yale University, 3% of them wrote their goals down. Wrote them down. 3%. 97% did not. Now, they came back and did research on them in 1975. 1975, they went back to look at what happened between the 3% and the 97%. They said the 3% that wrote their goals down in 1975 accomplished more than the 97% who did not. Now, how is that? Because they wrote them down. They wrote them down. Back when I was in college, man, it took me 5 years to graduate college. 5 years. Just in 5 years, I'm proud of that. Y'all should say, yeah, 5 years, I'm proud of that. It took me 5 years to get out of university. I went down there, I went to junior college 2 years, no problem. Got to school, no problem. Third year, I go to university, Stephen F. Austin University. I drive down there and went from a school with 3,000 people in it to a school with 15,000 people in it. All of a sudden, the change, the little change. There's more parties to go to all of a sudden. So I found myself in more parties, Monday through Sunday, and started again on Monday. I was still Monday. What happened was the whole semester, I'm still shaking my thing right. I'm hopping scotching. This boy I met her, I'm moving, grooving right. I go through. Guess what? Get to the final. Jim sleep. I've been partying. I'm sleep. Sleep through the final. The final weighs heavy on your brain. Slept right through it. Didn't wake up. Then when I did woke up, I woke up in the middle of another final. I was like, man, I done missed one. I missed two already. Might as well go on and miss this one. I ended up failing every course. Every course. Now you see why it took me 5 years? Well, I'm proud of it now. I wasted a year. It took me 5 years. Failed every course. Now, what I didn't know is you start having to pay for these courses when you start failing them. I learned that quickly the next semester coming up. They said, no, you don't get none of this money because you failing. And I thought it was just, you should just give it out. You're supposed to just give it out. I'll come up here and give it out. What they did was they said, you don't get that. But you know what I did was I got all my grades, all F's. What I did was I posted it on above my desk, marked through each one of them, put an A right beside all the way down. Next semester, went back to school, had to go take them same classes over again. Now, I didn't make all A's, but I passed. I passed. That's why I got my degree today. I passed. The point is, if you don't write it down, you can't see it. You got to be able to write your stuff down. That prepares you for action. Not only that, you got to visualize. You got to be able to see where you're going. You got to be able to see the vision when no one else can. Everybody else will tell you they can't see the vision, but it's your vision. It's what God has given you. You're the one has to visualize, no one else. You can tell it to them, but it doesn't matter if they see it because you've got to see it. It's your vision. So until you see it, nobody else can see it. So you've got to be able to visualize what God has in store for you. And then once you visualize it, then what do? You put that thing in action. Because it is a God-given vision by God. You pressed into God. You prepared for action. So then you got this vision. You wrote it down. You're moving forward with it. And then you're visualizing what God has for you. I would say, gentlemen, I read about this guy who went to school. Now he went to school, he went to the university, and what he did was he posted a large V on his door. Polished brass. V. And he would post it on his door. They would ask him, say, man, what that V is on your door? He wouldn't tell, wouldn't say a word. Every time he moved on, he'd take his V off the door, walk to the next door, post his V right up there, and polish it down every time. Go in and out the door. They still want to know. He went there 5 years. They said, hey, why you got that V? All of a sudden, graduation comes. He takes his V off the door, goes to the commencement with his V in his hand, walks across stage with that V, just proudly with a V. Comes out that he graduated valedictorian. He had to visualize it. Until you visualize it, nobody else needs to see your vision. Only you need to see it. But you need some goals that'll move you towards your vision, that prepares you for action. And the last thing is you got to plan for opposition. Plan for opposition. Because it's going to come now. It's going to come. Look at the text. He says in verse 15, he says, let us therefore, as many are perfect. Now he used the same word, teleos. Is Paul really saying that he's perfect now? No, he's not. But he's saying that the ones who think they are perfect, he's saying what you have this attitude that you think you're perfect. As many as are perfect, having this attitude. And if anything, if you have a different attitude, he says God going to reveal this also. In other words, God is going to show you that you are not perfect. His point was that you think you're perfect. You got this attitude like you're perfect, but God's going to end up showing you that you're not perfect. See, they were given an opposition toward. But you then in your life, you got a plan for opposition. Let me tell you this. You're going to have foes. That's one thing. You're going to have foes. You're going to have people that are not going to be able to see what you see, and they're not going to be able to know the things you know. Let me tell you. Look, they're going to put 10 men on the screen. Now look at these 10 men that they put up right now. These 10 guys, I want to see if you know any of their names. Their names are Shammah, Shaphat, Igal, Palti, Gadel, Gadi, Amel, Setha, Nahibi, Gael. You know any of them guys? Do they ring a bell to you? They don't ring a bell. Why they don't ring a bell? Because you know who they were? They were the 10 men that went with Joshua and Caleb to spy out the land. They were the men that said, I can't. They were the men that said God wasn't strong enough. They were the men that said we can't take it. They were the men that said Joshua and Caleb, it can't be done. I don't know why you're doing this. They were the foes of Joshua and Caleb. You don't hear about these men. Not at all. Why? Because they were opposing what God had given. See, when you oppose God-given vision, you're going to have foes. You're going to have people that say you can't make it. These men were looking at God through contract lenses. Not contact, contract. In other words, they were minimizing God and maximizing their enemies. They saw God as too weak, too small. They saw God as couldn't do it. They saw God where you can't happen. It can't be done. People will tell you that all the time with your God-given vision. But you've got to then move on through that because people will do that. Even I did that to my own son. Because what he did was, he sent me a text. He said, Daddy, when I come back and come home, he said, what I want to do is I want to join the choir. I was thinking, boy, you can't sing. Boy, you down like your daddy. You can't sing. You can't sing. That's what I was his fault. I was telling him what he can't do. And then he started to tell me, he said, Daddy, you know, I work at Adidas. And he said, when I went to work there, this guy told me I wouldn't be able to pass intermediate accounting then. That's what he said. He said, you ain't going to be able to pass intermediate accounting. And I said, why are you going to tell you that you can't pass intermediate accounting? He said it was too hard for him. See, he said it was too hard for him. And since it was too hard for him, he said, son, you might as well go and quit. Don't even do that. Class is way too much for you. He said, I went back and started to study a little harder. And I said, that's what you need to do. Les Brown says, don't let people's personality or let people's perception turn to your reality. That's what he said, right? Don't let people's perception of you turn you into their reality. And see, what I was doing, I was my son's foe. I was telling him what he can't do because I was looking at everything in the rearview mirror. I was looking at what I could have been. Maybe I could have sang. Maybe what I could have done. So I looked at it from a rear view. And that guy that was telling him, he was looking at it from a rear view. And that's what happened. People will look at their limits and they'll try to put him off on you and say you can't do certain things. But God has certain things for you. When it's a God-given vision, see, it's God's goals, God's plan. God can do anything he wants with you. That's the way it works. So let me tell you, I'm going to tell you this. You say, a blind man is bound by the limits of his touch. Look at Stevie Wonder. Plays the piano. He can't drive, can he? He's bound by the limits of his touch. But see, an ignorant man is bound by the limits of his knowledge. You only know what you know. You only can do what you know. But see, you and I, we're great men and women of God. And see, we're only bound by what God bounds us to. By the vision that God has given. That's our limit. That's our bounds. When God has made you a great man or woman, your bound is based on God-given vision. You have no limit. You have no limit what you can do in God. Last thing I got to tell you is this. Is that when you plan for opposition, understand that you will have failures. That's right. They're going to come. Now the question is, how are you going to handle it? Because they will show up no matter what.